Carbohydrates. The carbohydrates are a group of naturally occurring carbonyl compound. Carbonyl compound में आ जाना है aldehyde or ketone that also contain several hydroxyl groups. It may also include their derivatives which produce such compounds on hydrolysis. They are most abundant organic molecule in nature and also referred to as saccharides मतलब sugar. Carbohydrates are also soluble in water and sweet in taste are called sugars. Actually, carbohydrates are sugar. Definition of carbohydrates: any of the large group of organic compound occurring in food and living tissues and including sugar, starch, and cellulose. They contain hydrogen, oxygen, and same ratio as water 2 to 1 and typically can broken down to release energy in animal body. Definition of carbohydrates. Structure of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates consist of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Generally, empirical formula for carbohydrates is CH2O into N. They are organic compound organized in the form of aldehyde and are ketone with multiple hydroxyl group coming off the carbon chain. The building block of all carbohydrates are simple sugars and called monosaccharides. A monosaccharide can also be a polyhydroxyaldehyde, aldose, or ketose. The carbohydrates can be structurally represented in any of the three form: open chain structure, hemiacetal structure, Haworth structure. Open chain structure. It is long straight chain in the form of carbohydrates as shown. Hemiacetal structure आ जानी है. Here is the first carbon of glucose condenses with the OH group of fifth carbon to form a ring structure. Haworth structure आ गई. It is the presence of pyranose ring structure. Properties of carbohydrates. फिजिकल प्रॉपर्टी में आ जाता है स्टेशियोमरिज्म कंपाउंड शेविंग the same structure formula but they differ in spatial configuration. Example: glucose has two isomers with respect to penultimate carbon atom. They are D-glucose and L-glucose. Optical activity: it is rotation of plant polarized light forming plus glucose and minus glucose. Distereoisomer: it is configurational changes with regard to C2, C3 or C4 in glucose. Example: mannose galactose anemorism. It is spatial configuration with respect to first carbon atom in aldose and second carbon atom in ketosis. Chemical property of carbohydrates. Ozone formation or carbohydrates derivative when sugar are reacted with excessive of phenylhydrazine or e.g. glucazone. Oxidation आ गई है. Monosaccharide are reducing sugar if their carbonyl group oxidized to give carboxylic acid. In Benedict test, D-glucose is oxidized to D-gluconic acid. Thus, glucose is considered a reducing Sugar. Reducing sugar when heated. Benedict test आज ना इसमें heated in the presence of alkali gets converted to powerful reducing species known as anidrol. When Benedict reagent solution and reducing sugar are heated together, the solution changes its color into orange, red, brick red. Reduction to alcohol. The aldehyde group in open chain form carbohydrates can be reduced to alcohol by sodium borohydride or catalytic hydrogenation. Property of monosaccharide. Most monosaccharides have sweet taste. They are solid at room temperature. They are extremely soluble in water. Glucose can dissolve in minute amount of water to make a syrup. 1 gram to 1 ml of water. Type of carbohydrates: monosaccharide, oligosaccharide, polysaccharide. पहले आ जाता है monosaccharide, simplest group of carbohydrates, often called simple sugar since they cannot further hydrolyzed. Colorless crystalline solid which are soluble in water and insoluble in a non-polar solvent. These are compound or possessive a free aldehyde or ketone group. The general formula is CnH2O N or CnH2nOn. एग्जाम्पल आ जाती है ग्लूकोज, फ्रक्टोज, एरिथ्रोलोज, राइबोलोज. Oligosaccharides are compound sugars that yield 2 to 10 molecules of same or different monosaccharide on hydrolysis. The monosaccharide units are joined by glycosidic linkage. Based on the number of monosaccharide units, it is further classified on the disaccharide, trisaccharide, and tetrasaccharide, etc. For example, disaccharides include saccharose, lactose, maltose. Polysaccharides, they are also called as glycans. It contains more than 10 monosaccharide units and can be hundred of sugar units in length. They yield more than 10 molecules of monosaccharide on hydrolysis. They are primarily concerned with two important functions, i.e., structural function and storage of energy. Example: starch, glycogen, cellulose, pectin. Function. Some of their major functions include living organisms to use carbohydrates as accessible energy to use cellulose reactions. Carbohydrates, along with being the chief energy source in many animals, are instant source of energy, serves as energy store, fuel, and metabolic intermediate. Stored carbohydrates act as energy source instead of protein. Carbohydrates are intermediates in biosynthesis of fat and protein. Carbohydrates aid in the regulation of nerve tissue and is energy source for brain. Carbohydrates get associated with lipid protein to form surface antigen receptors, molecule, vitamins, and antibiotic. Formation of structural framework of RNA and DNA. In animal, they are important constituents of connection tissue. That's end, and thank you. Thanks for watching. Allah Hafiz.